Hello and welcome back to another Toronto video. In today's one, we're going over the TMNT, the Splinter Fate DLC for Metalhead. So yeah, I'd say that overall for this one, I am honestly quite surprised with this, just because the game came out, last year, maybe 2023, and it got a release on PC after a year or so after it came out, and they gave out the Casey Jones DLC, which I didn't play at the time, but only recently I got the game, I want to say last week, just because the trailer came out for Metalhead, and I was very curious about it. So I got the gameplay. So I won't lie, my gameplay isn't that all too great, just because I literally only just started playing it now, and yeah, I haven't really got all too far in the game. But either way, that's beside the point. Metalhead, he's a new character to the game. He's an interesting one. So unlike all the other characters where they all are very melee, or get up very close up and personal with the enemy and that kind of stuff, Metalhead, he shoots from afar, and he also with his E you can shoot some missiles, which is good, but the only downside to that is the fact that with him you can only you don't really move as fast, and he can't stop the missiles, which I do feel like is a definitely big downgrade for his character, because it's very hard to dodge out from some of the bosses and some of the enemies, especially when you've got big crowds of enemies, or even when I've really noticed this a lot with being Rocksteady, where even though there's there isn't really all too much cover and all that kind of stuff, but when you combine that with the fact that after you missiles, try and dodge Rocksteady's missiles and that kind of stuff, it's somewhat hard to try and do that with the missiles. But I feel like with that, it's going to be one of those things where you can actually learn and see how to properly use it before you be like, oh yeah, that's good. But I guess we'll wait and see about that skill. And with his Q, with the one which he starts off with, he's able to plant down some mines, and I have to say that I don't feel like these are actually really that good. I feel like they're very weak, and also not to mention that when enemies do go near it, I found that most of the time the mines didn't go off, and it did feel a bit pointless even having these mines in the first place, because of how annoying and stupid and pathetic they really are. I would definitely have to say that if you are playing Metalhead, definitely swap out the Q. I know that most characters you definitely should, but Metalhead one, just like with Casey's one, it feels very pointless really. I feel like it's only going to be good if you actually get good luck, which most of the time in this game you probably don't, so just don't even bother with it. And yeah, there isn't really all too much I can really say about Metalhead. I'd say that with his way that he fights with shooting off these energy beams, it's a nice addition to the game, where it does feel it's very different and unique compared to other characters. And I definitely have to say that it does definitely make Metalhead feel a very unique character. Unlike Casey, where I'd say that I feel like the only good thing about him, when he first came out, was basically with his E you can shoot and you had to hit multiple enemies, which yeah, but at the same time he's just another melee character. But with him being a ranged character, it does make him feel like a very different and unique character, which is really great. The only downside to this though is that with sometimes when you're firing, I feel like this is something which you can change the settings, where to shoot, it's almost like auto aim or something like that, from what I've been able to tell from the settings. And this is something which I do think is a little bit, it can be a bit stupid, just because sometimes you're just firing, and yet sometimes you're not even not even in the same direction as the enemy, or might not be hitting them. So I definitely feel like you should definitely turn off your the auto aim thing settings for this character, as I feel like it will definitely help the experience out a lot more. Then be able to play him a lot better, and able to shoot him a lot well. There isn't really too many downsides to his character. I feel like the biggest one is just his Q, where it is just very pathetic. And I'd just say that his biggest upside is the fact that he is a ranged character, which I do definitely see that there could be potential for him going up against other enemies and that kind of stuff. But I do definitely see him being very good and very useful in the online stuff, where he's able to just stand back from afar and shoot everyone else, while all the other characters will do all the dirty work, which it could be good, and I do feel like he could be very good for online play and team up and that kind of stuff. But besides that, it's yeah, he's decent enough, but I definitely feel like his Q and the E are very holding him back quite a lot. And with the auto thing, just puts him off quite a bit. It's just a weird character to try to go around, try to, do anything like pretty decent. But yeah, they tried it at the very least. And then there was also some other stuff which they did include for this new one, or for this new basically for this update. They gave off some new stuff where it's doing like an arcade mode and some other stuff. I think I might have gone into that kind of stuff. I'm not too sure, because there was like these two different areas in Metalhead's room where to do like these little small runs. They say, oh yeah, it only take 10-15 minutes to complete. I was in there 5 minutes and I died, so it's not off to a great start with with this brand new game modes. And with the two rooms, they were basically the same, or unless I haven't really explored all too much. I know if I did one and then died, then try and go into the other one, but then realised the shot bit was the same, so I feel like I might be misjudging it quite a bit so far. But either way, I'm not going back to this game now. I've already done enough of what I've done, like over an hour on this game, just trying to get some metalhead footage, and I didn't need to do like a 4 hour, but at the same time, I need kill traders, so at least I'm improving to a certain degree. But yeah, and also to say that also like another thing is that just like with the other characters, especially like the melee characters like for Turtles and Casey, the dash thing is very helpful and very useful for the character to like do a lot of damage against all the characters, like all the enemies, especially in big groups. However, I found with Metalhead that because he's a ranged character, he can't really use the dash all too much, or at the very least not able to use it in a very effective way, because he's like an ranged character, and he's also I would say he's a pretty weak character as well. He's not able to do like the splash, like the water damage which I was expecting him to do, and at the very least, I don't know. It's hard to say, because I feel like on the run which I used Metalhead on, he didn't really get like too much of a good like water damage kind of thing, so that might be affecting my opinions about this so far. But I do definitely feel like he's not going to be a character which you just like dash through other characters and hope for the best, unlike all the other ones. But that's also like another big thing which I found that was very weird to play with, because it somewhat forced me to try and change up my gameplay style quite a bit. And in a game like this where it's just very basic, where just shoot the tap buttons 101 times and hope for the best, and they had to somewhat think about stuff, it's challenging, because you just can't just sit back and just hope for the best. It's weird. I don't like how I have to think. It's very annoying, but well, they they at least try, to say the very least. And yeah, so yeah, okay, so I just say that overall, for my final thoughts for Metalhead for the game, I feel like he's a pretty fun character. I don't think he's as fun as Casey. He was a really great character to include in the game, and I feel like with Metalhead's abilities, I do like enjoy them, because it definitely does make him feel a very different and unique character, who is able to just sit back at the from one side of the room and is able to just shoot like willingly, and is able to do a lot of damage there. But at the same time, I do feel like with his abilities which he did get for his E and Q, they're very useless, or at the very least, the Q is very disappointing and useless. The E, it could be good, it just depends on how well you're able to use it in like certain situations. And also I have to say that with the sort of interference of the water damage and that kind of stuff, where you have to now think how you do things and not able to just charge through players or enemies and that kind of stuff, I don't know, it definitely put like a downer onto my experience in the game, because it definitely forced me to like change up how I play the game, which isn't bad, because it's good to always, like it's always good to be on your toes and that kind of stuff. But with a game like this, where it's just a very basic, simple, easy one, which is just have to go through, button smash your way through to the top, and yet now you have to think about it. It's just it could be a lot better. But yeah, so overall, I'd say that if you're looking to pick this character up, I feel like it's definitely worth it. I'll definitely say it's worth it, because he is like a fun character. There isn't really too much to him, but I'll definitely say that if you don't want the Metalhead, you're not missing out on anything too much. Unlike with Casey, where it was a very fun addition, this one feels like it could be fun, but he's only good with online play. But well, I guess it's up for you to decide if you actually like them or not. But yeah, that's again for today, guys. Please share, subscribe, and all that stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.